Welcome. If everybody would come in and sit down, please, we'll get started. It's 1 o'clock, and we are starting on time. Welcome to the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District first annual meeting. And I want to thank you for your patience. This is the first time that we've done this, and so if it was a little bit trying when you registered and those kinds of things, thank you for your patience, and if not, just relax, enjoy the air conditioning because it's nicer in here than it is out in that hallway. And we'll get started with the meeting. There are a couple of things before we get started. Restrooms are just on the other side of the registration tables. As you came in, there were some restrooms, and there's a restroom if you go out here, turn to the left, and right away there's a restroom if need be. And just on a lighter side, and maybe next year, if we have a budget, we have water for people as you're sitting around. We'll deal with that next year. This is the agenda. The agenda that was mailed to you. This is the same agenda, and we are going to be going through the agenda. What I will do is, if you didn't bring your mailer, that's okay because I'll put the agenda items right up on it so you can follow along that way. If you got a smartphone, you can probably look on your smartphone and find the agenda on the website. If there's other details that you need, you can look them up on the website. All of those things are posted on the website. All of the items on here are, this is what we're going to speak towards and work on today. This is an annual meeting. This is, everybody in this room gets to vote if you're a property owner, resident, or appointee from a foundation, corporation, those kinds of things. I'm Al Brown. I'm the interim president of the organization. To my right is Jerry Porter. Next to him is Tom Bills, and next to him is Jim Sons. Originally, we had 5 board members that were appointed by either the township or the county, but Zach Raff had to resign because he took a job and there was a conflict of interest with his employer and the Lake District and the county, because 3 of us were appointed by the county. They chose not to fill that position because it was only a month and a half before this annual meeting. The purpose of the annual meeting is for you as members of the Lake District community. This is your time, your vote, okay? All of the stuff that's up on here for the budget, for the tax levy, for the expansion, all of that is up to you to vote. We are proposing it, and you get to approve it up or down. And so that's why there are other powers, but these are the only powers that we're ready to be able to deal with so far. And some of them aren't germane to what the conditions of our lake anyway. So it's important that you participate. I want to thank you for your participation. It's good to see that we have this many people turn out. And your vote counts. And I know there are some people in the audience that are not voting members. And thank you for coming and observing what takes place today. This is, to be honest with you, this is democracy. And so we're going to move forward with that. The items on the agenda were all put together since I think March. We've been working on on the agenda, and so that's how those agenda items came to vote, or came to be. The layout, the format of this meeting, I don't know how many of you have ever been to an annual meeting before, if you've been to a township or school board annual meeting or whatever. You are the participants. We basically, as the commissioners, are just guiding the process, okay? We will take and follow Robert's Rules of Order, okay? And James Craig will be acting as parliamentarian. So his job is to make sure that we follow Robert's Rules of Order and that there is order, is basically what it's all about. When we get to an action item, I will ask for a motion, okay? I'll ask for a motion and then a second, okay? And then there's a motion and a second. Then we will discuss, then there will be discussion on that motion, okay? So I know some meetings, especially small meetings, they have a discussion and then somebody makes a motion. With a large assembly, you make the motion first, then the second, and then you have discussion, close discussion, and then you vote, okay? And then that's how we're going to run this meeting, because obviously with, I'm guessing 150 to 200 people, that if you have discussion, you have to focus the discussion on what's being made, the motion. And then, so we're going to do that. On the discussion part, I would ask that you keep on point and limit your discussion to what's the motion, and also that you make your point as brief as possible if you can. Okay? I ask you to do that. And then when we vote, once the discussion is closed and we vote, everybody had pink cards. Okay? You hold up the pink cards. Okay, the motion will be, all those in favor signify by saying aye. And then we count the pink cards. Opposed, then you hold up your pink card. And we're going to count the pink cards. Because this is an open meeting and not everybody here can vote, that's why we handed out the pink cards. So if you're registered and you're a resident or whatever, you got a pink card. This is what we're going to count. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Seeing that nobody looks confused, I will move on to the next one. The secretary and treasurer will, and that's you, Tom, will count the votes. Okay, because he's got to take the minutes. You might just as soon have that number. And if you may want to appoint somebody or ask somebody to help you, okay, Jerry's going to help us. So there'll be two of us, or two people that will count the votes. You guys can split the room up, however you want to split that up. All votes will be included in the annual meeting, or the minutes of the annual meeting, that will be approved at next year's annual meeting. Okay? The minutes of this meeting don't get approved by the commission. They'll be approved by you next year. So when you see the minutes of the meeting, when we post them, those are unapproved minutes. Those aren't official minutes. They're not official minutes until next year. Okay? That's how it works, because this is the annual meeting. And the only portion of this assembly where the ballot is secret is voting for commissioners. That way, because you get into personalities that way, because that's about people, not about issues. And for example, my wife does not have to vote for me if she does not want to. And so she's not going to raise her hand. So she can do it secretly without me ever knowing it. So, that's voting.
If people make comments, if you could come down to the microphone here so that everybody, it's a big auditorium, and so that there's a microphone there so that everybody can hear any comments, if there's discussion on any motions, really appreciate it if you can come and address it here at the podium.
Thank you, Jim. Yes. If you're going to speak to an issue, you speak to it from here so that everybody can hear. What we didn't want to do is, didn't want to be running around trying to hand the microphones off and things like that. So, make your comments brief and to the point. Moving on the agenda, I would ask, is there anything else that any of the commissioners would like to say as a part of the introduction? Thank you, Jim, for pointing that speaking piece out. There were no committees. We were formulated or appointed in February, I believe, and our first meeting was in March. It didn't give us a lot of time to put together committees and things. I would like to take part of the chairperson report and just focus on a few things that I think are just to educate you as to what took place from March up until now. We were appointed by the county. There were 3 of us that were appointed by the county. Myself, Jerry, and Zach Raff were appointed by the county to serve as interim supervisors or commissioners until this meeting. And one of the powers of this meeting is to elect your commissioners. Tom Bills represents the town of Tainter and was appointed and serves that governmental body and is connected to that governmental body. And Jim is a county supervisor and is a representative of and serves at the will of the county. Both those positions are appointed; they're not voted on. The other positions, the open positions, will be voted on by us. So that kind of gives you the context with which we started. We also had no money to start with, and we've relied on donations from the community. And when I say community, I'm saying the lake community. We've relied on community donations, and I'll point those out when we start talking about the budget. And I know, like Jim has donated our website. We had to get a website up and running. We had to do all those things and realize that we did all those things without any money. So actually, this board has been contributing its time and talents, and I think we've only written one check since our inception. So most of it has come through donations of time and talents, and people on the board have forked out their own money. So for that, I would like to thank the board. So to conduct the business of the Tainter Lake District, the 4 of us have been busy developing the nuts and bolts of this special governmental body, and that is taking and developing or applying for an EIN tax exempt number and going through simple things like starting a checking account. Well, we couldn't start a checking account until we had an EIN number, and we didn't have any money to put in the checking account either. And so we've been working on those types of activities, simple things like P.O. boxes. We still have to finalize that, so there's always still a little bit more to do to conduct the business of the Lake District. The other part of that is that we've had monthly meetings. The county has been gracious enough to donate the meeting space for free, and along with that, they allow us to use their technology. So that's why we've had these meetings posted and recorded and posted on our website. And just so that you know, our website is informational. Okay, that's where you're going to get all the information. We do post stuff out on Facebook and those kinds of things periodically also. The other goal was to develop local, regional, and state connections with other various conservation groups and organizations. One of the things that we've worked to do is connect with all the conservation that's going on in the Red Cedar watershed. Tom and I were at a meeting yesterday with a group of folks from Barron and Dunn County. I know at times there's even people from Chippewa and Rusk County that are a part of that group also. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And there's a lot of stuff going on with the water and conservation in those areas. And one of the things that our group has worked on doing is connecting our group with all the others. We're not a standalone. It isn't just Tainter Lake. It's how Tainter Lake fits in with what's going on. And there's some really interesting things going on. Everything from grazing 2.0, changing how farmers would graze, to Red Cedar Lake is doing studies on how the phosphorus, the amount of phosphorus that's coming into Red Cedar Lake. They have a high phosphorus level, and they don't have agriculture that we have. And we're doing boring samples in the muck to see if they could take and reclaim some of the muck on the bottom of the lake and sell it or give it away to farmers to put on their fields and to add some of that stuff back. So there's a lot of things going on around us that if we weren't part of this group, we would not know how or what our role is and how we fit in there. And so there's some really cool things happening. And so we've been developing those, and that also includes, there's been 2 state or regional workshops or conventions from around the state, so connecting with other lake districts and associations around the state. And we've been doing that also. The other thing is we've been developing connections with the various state organizations, mainly the DNR, and that is one of the things about being an organization like us is that the legislature and the state and the state organizations, they create the laws and then they run and they interpret the laws. And so we have to know what's in the laws, what isn't. The other thing is the DNR, working with the DNR, they provide all the permitting and all of the other oversight as to what takes place. So we need to know where those boundaries are, and so we need to be working with those people. The last thing that we did that took up actually quite a bit of time was to prepare and plan for this annual meeting. A lot more went into it than just what you saw coming in. We've been, actually, like I said, we've been working on this for about 3 months now, and I mean, how many invitations did we send out?
Over 700.
Over 700 individual pieces of mailings were sent out to people. We posted it in 2 newspapers, the Colfax Messenger and the Dunn County News. We had it on Facebook, we've done everything we possibly can. Is somebody going to come up and say, well, I didn't know about it? I'm sure we didn't get everybody, but we tried the best that we could. And no system is, and we're learning as we go along. And so it's been a learning process. So that brings us to today, to the annual meeting. Okay? Did anybody else want to say anything as an addendum to my report? Moving on. Treasurer's report and audit report.
Well done, Al. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Bills, and I have the prestigious position of being both secretary and treasurer. It was a job we all fought over, and I was the one that got stuck with it. So, having said that, I'll get to the nuts and bolts right away here. We have $5 in savings, and we currently have in checking $3,882.34. That is due to some very generous donations we've had from some people both on the lake and off the lake, and I would like to thank you for that again. We had 15 different donators, if that's the correct term. But anyways, it was really nice to see that support. During the course of our, since March, I've made 5 deposits. We've received 79 cents in 3 different dividend deposits. And we wrote 1 check for $613.45. That's how I arrived at our balance. And it is backed up by what Wisconsin Credit Union shows in our account as well. The reason I am speaking to this is because every year we have to have a financial audit. Now next year, when we are conducting more business, we will have a more in-depth financial audit. But for right now, our audit was fairly simple. And in the handbook that we use, it is suggested that we have someone audit our finances that is qualified. For this year, the ability to balance a checkbook and read a financial statement is really all that's required. So it's a fairly simple audit. So I had our donations, and I made copies of all the checks that were donated to us. And we went through the donations, we went through the deposits, we went through the 1 check that was written, and the 3 different interest dividend deposits, let's call them that, dividend deposits into our account. And I had John Lynch go through our finances. And his review states this: after reviewing the donations, deposits, and checks written, it is my opinion that the checkbook balance of the TLRD, the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District, is both correct and accurate. It's signed sincerely, John Lynch, UW Stout business graduate, and he has about 50 years of business experience. I think it's safe to say for this year, we are on point when it comes to our finances. And like I said, next year, we will do a little more. We will probably have to hire an accounting firm to review our finances. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Moving on. Okay, here's the first action item. Consider approval of expanding elected commissioners from 3 to 5. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? I saw a hand go up.
I'll second this
And your name, sir?
one.
Tomlin. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to expand the board essentially from 5 members to 7. Okay, so it would be 3 or 5 elected positions instead of 3. So I'm going to ask Tom to address that first, and then we'll take comments. Okay? Tom?
I'll be right with you now. Hunt and peck is my best typing.
Bill, what are your qualifications for getting the secretary position?
Well, my charming personality. Once again, good afternoon. I've been asked to explain why a 7-member board or a 5-member elected board is better than a 3-member elected board, and why I hope you will vote to increase the board size. From the perspective of a new board member, On a new board, I believe it's quite simple why bigger is better. Number one, a larger board gives us more diverse perspectives of the lake and the problems we as residents experience from day to day. A larger board gives us an opportunity to draw from a more diverse area of expertise. A larger board gives us flexibility should someone's life get in the way, which Al explained just happened to us here in the last couple months. A family emergency, illness, work requirements, or vacations could sideline a smaller board, but it's less likely to happen with more board members. After our annual meeting, we'd like to develop different committees to attack problems like fundraising, project development, project management, volunteer organization, and development of a lake plan. We had several people offer their help in these different areas, and with more board members to lead these committees, we will be able to put volunteers to work in the areas they enjoy and have knowledge. There will be plenty of work to keep a larger board busy. This is a volunteer organization, and not all board members have complete flexibility in their schedule. The larger board gives us the flexibility and knowledge that we seek. And that's all I have.
Any discussion, people that would like to participate in that discussion, if you would come to the podium and state your name, please, we'll take it from there. First one there gets to talk first.
Is it on?
Yes. You may have to.
Can you hear me?
Hello, I'm Tom Lynn. I'm in favor of increasing the board basically because it gives better representation to those of us that live on the lake. It's just, you have two members that are appointed by governing bodies, the county and the township. And while that's well and good, I think we residents should have a little more of a leg up on the discussions by having more of us represented on the board. So that's my 2 cents.
Tom, just for the record, can I get your address, please?
I think I'm remembering. E5260, 750th Avenue.
Thank you.
We're going to have this on the microphone. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chad Stewart. My address, E5576, 797th Avenue. Tom and I spoke last year at my home on Tainter Lake Township. I want you to know I fully support investing in and measurably improving our water resources, our investments in home and land, and our overall livelihood. However, and nevertheless, my number one concern and resistance to a taxpayer-funded lake rehab district is an ever-expanding bureaucracy with no projects that have clear, objective, and measurable outcomes. Until we are ready to pull the trigger on an objective project with clear, measurable outcomes, I believe no additional bureaucratic staff are necessary. Thank you.
Can I get your name and address again, please?
Chad Stewart, S-T-U-A-R-T. He is in East 5576, 797 Avenue.
Thank you, Chad.
Can I readdress that?
Let's see if anybody else, I think we got the chest. Anybody else? It's not that scary. Seeing no one, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approving approval of expanding the elected commissioners from 3 to 5 positions, you would, all those in favor, raise your cards.
Yep. Feel free to
And-
count yourself.
Yes.
Hold them up. If your arms get tired, switch hands. I think the front here.
Everybody on this side, you can put your arms down for now. I've counted you.
Right there. All, you ready for the opposition?
Okay.
All those opposed, raise your cards. You done, Tom?
Yeah, I'm done, thank you.
Okay, you can put your arms down now.
Done.
Five, 12, 0. Okay.
Okay, and the results of the voting were?
We had 125 yay and 17 nay.
125 yes and
17 no.
17 no, motion carries. Consider approval of bylaws. A motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, there's been a motion by Jim Zantz to approve of bylaws, approval of adoption. A second? Tim Maves, seconds. There's been a motion and a second to approve adoption of bylaws. And I will turn that brief discussion over to Jerry because he was the one that typed them out by keyboard or whatever.
Thank you. So we worked as a group to select a template of other lake districts. So we had two that we worked through. We combined those and basically created proposed bylaws that basically say they cover the state statute, and the key point is that if the state statute changes or if we're outside of that for some reason, the state statute rules and the bylaws are just null and void on that particular point. The hardest part was who the electors are, and we got that figured out, and hopefully that's all clear. Other key points is that we're all volunteers and not paid. And other key points are out there. And we reviewed them at 3 consecutive meetings where we had folks come and talk to us about that. It was a good effort to put together a nice set of bylaws.
Just another point of clarification, bylaws are not required, okay? But what we wanted to do is have a set of bylaws where people could go to it and instead of just reading the statute, actually read how we were going to operate as a board, how you're going to tell us how to operate as a board. And they're connected to the state statute. And so we tried to remove some of the ambiguity of just looking at a state statute and saying, okay, what's this mean? So we put it into bylaws. They're clear. They will more than likely be up for review every annual meeting. something will come along, a law will change or whatever. Just be aware that if the law changes and the bylaw is no longer in sync with that state statute, the state statute is the determining factor. I just want to be clear about that. And so that's our purpose in developing bylaws. Comments from any of the other board member? Comments from the public?
Mostly just a question, so the bylaws are reviewable each year. There's possibility to amend them if we discover faulty bylaws.
Correct. And I should say, corrected by this group, approved by this group, the commission, because it's approved at this meeting. We actually went another step. Instead of making rules from the commission, like policies, we did the bylaws so that this group would review them and have to approve any changes. Not just the commission, it's this group. But this is, so.
Jerry left.
Pardon?
Jerry left. AFF.
Your address, Jerry?
N7771 540 Street.
Thank you.
I speak slowly just so you can write. A couple of comments with the permission of the runner of the organization. It's not, okay.
Or grab the mic, you can actually take it out of the handle there.
But with the permission of the runner of the rules here, I would suggest that in the future we have on the votes, you might want to just consider count the smaller number and then infer the primary number. And a couple of questions. One of them is this bylaws. Are they currently available someplace? The one that we're supposed to be considering?
Right, they're on our website. If you
I
go
didn't
to
find
the,
them, but
if you go to the annual meeting and look on the annual meeting,
Okay.
they're on in red.
I missed them. Sorry. I also couldn't find the information on the candidates. And that probably is my error as a computer hater. I use them, but I don't like them. And the other question I have is, before we consider all of this stuff, what's the purpose of our organization? What are we trying to accomplish? It colors everything we decide.
Right.
So, enlighten me, please.
Does somebody want to deal with this, or do you want? Go ahead, Juan.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And part of the question obviously concerns how do we know what we've accomplished, what we're trying to do? What measures do we use?
We don't have a formal vision yet, okay, because we wanted to wait until we had elected representatives to form the vision and the mission of the district, okay? So as appointed members, we've talked about this, but my personal, and I'll just give you my personal vision, is that the vision of the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District is to restore Tainter Lake to a healthy lake, sustaining a diverse aquatic habitats, and by improving water quality. Would be the vision, is to improve water quality and have a healthy environment. The mission then would be to improve water quality practice and natural resource conservation, and to protect Tainter Lake from natural and man-made threats. And restoration, because we are a rehabilitation district, or it's in our name, would be accomplished through commitment to planning, balancing resource management, and using sustainable conservation practices in community education.
But how do you plan to measure that?
That is, when we get to the grant stage and talking about the budget, the first thing that we're going to do is to create that strategic plan.
Okay. It sounds like we're being asked to pay for somebody's hobby. Because if we don't know where we are, you don't know where we're trying to go, you know, what's the point?
We want clean water is where we want to go.
Compared to what?
Sure, if I could answer for you, please respond to you, Jerry. Thank you for your comments. The proposed bylaws in the preface describe that the Lake District works cooperatively with other government bodies and private organizations, and it talks about what we can do, examples of what we could do, and to benefit the lake and the district mission. So it's kind of spelled out there very generally, but again, we've had very little time and no budget to move forward. So what we're working towards is creating a mission vision with our first project, and you'll be voting on that today. So the bylaws just basically have it covered in a very general format, and then one of our first projects is to define the mission vision.
And that is a very important step to take, absolutely. Thank you.
Nobody's proposing any work yet until we know what we're measuring, where we're going, and what we're going to do.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really important, I really want to stress that grant process is pretty much the very first, the only thing is kind of on our agenda for the coming years to apply for that grant that helps the district set those goals and determine those things, and we'll get to that longer range vision from there.
My name is Kurt Zerline. I live at E6357, County Road D, Colfax. I have a couple of questions regarding the bylaws as it relates to funds disbursements, where commissioners can request reimbursements for tasks performed associated with dealings related to the Rehabilitation District. And my question is, what sort of duties or tasks could be performed that are not outlined in the annual budget?
So I can take that. So that's section 7, I believe you speak of,
That
which
may be
is
the one.
compensation,
Yeah.
where it states the commissioner shall receive no remuneration for their service in office, but as a commissioner shall be paid for budgeted and board-approved actual and necessary expenses incurred while conducting the business of the district.
So that says budgeted then.
It does say paid for budgeted and board-approved.
Yes. Okay, so I stand corrected on that one. The next one is that commissioners may conduct meetings to decide whether or not they're going to borrow money.
Do you have a section for me?
It's further down in the bylaws than that one, I believe. Now, is this just to decide and then it'll be discussed at the annual meeting, or because it doesn't say that in the bylaws?
So in section 8, powers and duties, it says the board shall have control over the fiscal matters of the district subject to the powers and directives of the annual meeting. The board shall annually, at the close of the fiscal year, cause an audit to be made. Financial transactions of the district must be submitted to the annual meeting, basically state law. Subject to the decisions of the annual meeting, the board may borrow money or use other financial methods prescribed by law. So that specifically states subject to the decisions of the annual meeting.
No, there was something different where special meetings or something like that where the board can meet and decide to borrow money. I thought that
The board may exercise its authority to borrow money when in temporary need. That's right below that.
that might be it. my concern was that the board would meet and decide to borrow money not identified in the annual meeting or without the district's knowledge.
So these points are very valid, and they are directly taken from state statute 33, section 31. So there's nothing here that isn't in the state statute.
Right, okay, yeah, I understand that the district has the authority to borrow money, but it shall not be done without the district's knowledge, and we will have the right to vote on it.
That's the way I view this.
Thank you.
Aye.
Other discussion? You ready to vote?
We're ready to vote. Consideration and approval of the bylaws. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or, excuse me, sorry.
You knew what you meant.
It's been suggested that I start with the smaller group, which I would hope would be the negative, but I don't want to start negative and then finish positive. I want to start positive and finish negative.
I must see you so calm.
You have the most people.
You got your numbers?
Did you add in your own?
I did.
Good. I had 51 including me. Oh, 32 including it. Sorry.
Okay. All those opposed, raise your cards, please.
Okay, motion passes 156 yea to 2 nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jerry, for your work on putting those bylaws together. Jerry was the person responsible for always teeing that up for us and doing all the typing. The only project I'm moving on, that motion carries. Did you all hear the vote, the count? Okay. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the project. As we had stated that all the projects have to be approved by this group. Okay. I'm sure there may be some little ones that come up that we could support as a group, but any of the major projects in direction of the Lake District are approved by you. And so the only project that we have this year is a surface water planning grant. And so I would entertain a motion for that project, and then we'll open discussion.
I move to approve the surface water plan.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Whatever, between Marty and this gentleman. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. We are open for discussion. To give you a little bit of education or background, surface water grant is through the DNR. And there's a variety of grants that are written through the DNR. The surface water planning grant is exactly where we are in our organizational development. And that grant is for $5,000. And you can see that I listed here the education planning projects are to help communities understand the water conditions, the goals, and as that gentleman spoke here, we need to identify what we're measuring. When we say clean water, what does that mean? What is the outcome of our organization and what we want to do? And so we're going to be asking the DNR to support that effort with some dollars. It's a $5,000 planning grant, and of which 25% of it is the match. We have to match the grant. And then, but here's the deal. The DNR has only so many dollars and so many, it's a competitive grant process. So what we've put in the budget is $5,000 for the grant, so that we can get the grant going and not wait for the dollars, so we can use our dollars that we will recoup from the state. And the budget for these dollars will be used to apply for our match, if there's needs for consultants. One of the biggest pieces that we're going to write in the grant is for local meetings of the district residents. So we want to have meetings to come to you in this planning process and involve people in the planning process. But those meetings don't come free. We have to pay rent. We don't have a structure, unless we have it at a boat landing or something like that. But we don't have a structure or place to meet, so we have to pay for our meetings and where we go. And so most of those dollars that we're going to be using is going to be in meeting with people and rental fees and those kinds of things. The other thing is, part of that dollars will be used for consultants. And there's a lot of people out there that have more knowledge. We're not conservation experts. And we've been very fortunate that people in the area that have the expertise in conservation and water quality have given it their time and talents. But sooner or later, people are going to say, well, you need to bring in a consultant. Not that anybody's running out to get a consultant. I don't want you to think that we are, but some of those dollars may be used for a consultant. And that grant is going to be written after we have a board on staff, or not on staff, but the formal board is created. And so that's the only project that we have. Did anybody else want to speak to the planning grant? Questions or comments, discussion from the audience?
Thanks, I just had a question of clarification. The 25% match is money that we will need to raise, and the $5,000, we don't know that we would receive the grant, right? We would write a grant. So, can you just clarify that?
The $5,000, hopefully that $5,000, we get all of that back from the state, except for the 25%. Okay?
But maybe or maybe not, depending on.
But maybe or maybe not, depending on if we get the grant or not.
Okay, but that is budgeted already, the 5,000.
That's in that budget figure that we proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get your name again, please?
Susan, last name Brill, B-R-I-L-L.
Thank you, Susan.
Oh.
Jason Teagues, address is N710 529th Street, Menomonie. So I recall back, Mr. Heimdall came to my place, and a lot of the pitch was initially on, this is all going to be generated by the group, and I commend you guys for all your efforts working at this, but now we're to a point where we're voted in, and now we're going to have an additional tax levy, and here we are. We have no goal. We know the water is a little bit green a few months out of the year, you know. It smells a little, but for the majority of the year now, here we are, looking at projects for a natural ecosystem. So I just want to keep that in mind when we're going to levy some more taxes upon ourselves when we're already taxed fairly well. Just leave it at that. Thank you.
Matt Shefkowitz, E5320, 732nd Avenue. Just another clarification, so we'll be using $5,000 from our budget to apply for a larger grant sum from the DNR, correct?
The grant is for $5,000. We have to upfront the money.
So the $1,250 would be,
That's gone, but we'll get back the other $3,500.
gotcha. So the $1,250 is like an application fee, essentially, or, so if you don't get the grant, we do not recoup the $1,250?
Right. We would have money in the budget to continue the work, whether we get the grant or not, because the idea of the grant is good. We just got to get that money from the state. If we don't get the money from the state, we have the money to apply to do the same thing that the grant would do, whether we get the grant or not.
And do you know how many of these grants are given out by the DNR annually?
I do not know.
Gotcha. Or what percentage of grants that are applied for are earned?
No, I do not know. Anybody else?
Me again.
Okay, I spoke earlier about the Red Cedar Watershed Program that UW Scout is involved with, educating our young students, and they received a $350,000 grant from the DNR to take them through 2025. And that program has reduced the amount of phosphorus running into Lake Tainter by 79,000 tons. So how does that program affect what's going on with Lake Tainter and our rehabilitation district? Are they going to continue their work? And you got an accredited university competing for the same grants that we're competing with. Secondly, we're talking about clean water, and it seems that our county zoning commission is working against us when we've got a 75-foot high water setback, and we've got a lot that doesn't quite meet that, and they give a variance to allow a contractor to build closer than the 75-foot and put in a septic system. And there's been a report published, and some of our audience members here participated in that report and done testing of phosphorus flowing into all our rivers and streams. So why would our county zoning commission authorize builders to build closer than a 75-foot setback in the wetland program and all that, when our septic systems leak phosphorus into our waterways? So can we do something to work with the county? And if we have a cabin or something that has a failed septic system, why can't they be required to put in a holding tank instead of redoing their septic system? There are other things that we can do to help maintain our clear water in our lakes. We know that some of these old septic systems have been in there for 30, 40, 50 years. So something else to consider. So first question, the Red Cedar Watershed Program, are they continuing to work with us, or are they focusing on Lake Menomonie now? Second, why are we allowing the county zoning committee, and why are we not protesting the award of variances to build closer than the 75-foot setback? Things that make you go,
Thank you for your comments. I can address number 2, your second question about the Board of Adjustments and variances. So I'm a member of that committee, and only missed maybe one.
well, one is too many.
Well, sorry, I did read it. Proposed
Yeah.
variances.
Okay, but these things that leave me scratch my head, if we do one, then maybe there are more. I'm just saying,
But my point being is that in my time there in the last 2 years, to my best knowledge, I don't believe we have passed any variances for closer setbacks to the lake.
right, well, we all know there aren't that many lots left on Lake Tainter too.
I know, I just wanted to
Yeah.
address the facts as I know them for the last 2 years while I was in. But I do agree with you, the zoning issues, and I did take our zoning administrator, we just got a new one after Bob Colson retired, a neighbor of mine and I took her in
Conservationist.
in our county conservation,
Land and water conservation.
on a pontoon right around Upper Tainter and some of the areas to talk about setbacks, buildings, clearing, cutting, and other things. So personally, I've been trying to be effective in that meeting. So I guess we are trying to address that, at least I.
Thank you.
Number 1.
Jim, did you want to address anything from the county aspect of it?
Well, I don't serve on that, I don't serve on the PRD committee, so I don't know that if there are some of those decisions being made there, but I know that that's kind of outside of the county's kind of master vision would be to be granting setbacks or variances to allow building closer than 75 feet. And I also don't think that the state law allows that at this point. In fact, a lot of anything that's closer to that, it's not even an exception. You are allowed to, if you tear down an existing structure, you're allowed to build a new structure on that same footprint as the previous structure. You can't make it, it can't have a larger footprint as far as closer to the lake. It can be taller. And you don't have to be part of the previous structure there. That's no wise tale about leaving part of the wall or anything. It just has to match the footprint from the previous structure. So if it was an older cabin or something that happened to be like 60 feet, like my house is probably from the water might be 50 feet or less as the crow flies. I could, if I wanted
and I'll speak to the first question you had, Kurt. As a matter of fact, I spoke to one of the professors on Thursday about working with that group next year, and that group, I believe, their money comes from a National Science Foundation grant, not the DNR, and we certainly want to involve them in our organization and data. One of the key pieces of this planning grant will be to take and decide which data that we're going to use, because there's a whole bunch of data out there that the DNR is collecting, Stout's collecting, individuals are collecting. So which data do you use? And we don't want the data sets to keep moving. So one year it's Stout's data, the next year it's the DNR. And so what we're in the planning grant is my goal would be to take and say, these are the data sets, this defines what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to measure it. And then the other thing would be to take the Stout group in the future and ask them to help us collect maybe some of those data points. They had a pretty broad spectrum of businesses, socioeconomic stuff that they also measured in their studies. It wasn't just about phosphorus and runoff. And so it was quite interesting. So in answer to your question, yes, we plan on doing it, and yes, we plan on connecting to other organizations that also are collecting data. Okay, anybody else? Okay, time to vote. All those in favor signify by raising the all those against?
Okay, we have 147 yea and 9 nay.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a review and consider the approval of the proposed budget. There's one little change on the revenue side of the budget summary from what you got got in the mail in that budget summary. In that budget, the difference is there was not $5,000 in donations, there was only 445, or 4,500 in donations. We had some commitments that just didn't come through. So that changed. We had to have that printing last month. And so there's lag time. I just wanted to have you know that. And what the proposed budget total is 15, what we're proposing for a budget next year is $15,731.28. I know the county's gonna love me if you pass this, that there's 28 cents on the back end of that they have to divide out between all the municipalities. That's their problem, not mine. If you look at this, what the current year actual was, that was, when this went to printing, we did not have any, that was before the cost of the mailing. And so that cost of that mailing isn't here. That would go under copying, postage, and supplies. But we didn't have a cost then, so that's why it's not there. So next year, if you look at it, here's the cost for operations. I will break that down a little bit more specifically to you. Is that this year we have $4,500 in donations for 15 donations, and then we have 17 cents in interest. This is essentially where we're at. The levy would be $15,700.31 to support this. If you look at the operations, if I back up just a second, you will see down here, down towards the bottom after insurance, it has like three projects. There's only one project in there. That was the $5,000 that you approved. So you approved the project. This is the budget piece. There isn't anything else. That all carries forward. If you look at that, there's our proposed revenues to balance that. If you look at this, the technology, copying costs, postage, newspaper postings, you can see newspaper postings really is probably our biggest expense as a part of those operations. We also put in $1,700 for attendance at the state convention. There's an annual Lakes and Rivers Convention. It's in Stevens Point. It's a 3-day event. This is calculated for 2 people to attend. I think 2 days for that. But what we've decided as a group at a meeting is we did this to make sure that we had money in there to reimburse people. But what we will do is, if there's 3 people to go, we'll just divide the money equally amongst the people, and people are on their own for the rest of the expenses. I've gone to 2 conventions this year. Tom's been to one, and we've spent our own money to do these things. We didn't get reimbursed anything. This year, it would be nice to get a little money back for some of those things to stay current. The other thing is there's $1,200 for legal fees. In here, we do not have an attorney, but if we start getting into contracts and those kinds of things, we wanted to have a little bit of money for to get a legal opinion. We've been using corporate counsel, and if we continue to, once you vote in a group of commissioners, our ties to the county are less. Because we're appointed, the county still has a vested interest in us to succeed. Once we vote our own people in, we're on our own. So I'm going to say that we should have some legal fees, especially once we get into contracts and those kinds of things. And insurance, we have to have by law insurance, errors and omission, and once we start getting into projects and contracting, then we have to have other liabilities insurances too. But so that's the total of the for the budget. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or wants to address? Excuse me, motion. I'm sorry.
I'll move to approve the budget.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I apologize for getting out of my order. I got ahead of myself.
Where's our parliamentarian? I thought he would be second.
I apologize. That's not the way I meant to do that. But you can see, well, maybe you can't, but my computer's running out of power here. So I got to plug in quick or I just lost it. So anybody that wants, there's been a motion and a second. And if you want to speak to the issue?
Yeah, you need an extension cord.
I don't know. I am.
Tom, where do we send the donation? Do you go over there? Where would we send a check? Who to, where to, type thing?
We'll get to those and speak to us afterwards.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
No.
Check the mic, see if it's switched on.
No.
No. We may have time down.
I'm curious how on the budget or on the agenda, the next item is consider a corresponding tax levy. When again, if we approve this budget, we're approving a tax levy. That's one issue, but Marty just brought up about donations. I, for one, would much prefer to make donations to the Lake District than have a tax levy attached to it. I would imagine that there's quite a few people in here that would agree that the water's bad and we're tired of toxic water in our backyard. We want something done about it. So, from my opinion, I would prefer to not have a tax levy itemized in the budget. I would actually prefer not to have a tax levy. I prefer us, the Lake District, take responsibility for our own yards and contribute to the cause. We're not talking about getting some money divided up amongst people. So, I gave my 2 cents. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chad Stewart, S-T-U-A-R-T. Need my address again?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Like the gentleman's last comment about not having a tax levy, but more important for my family, is it reasonable to conclude that the tax levy will go up every year for the foreseeable future?
Don't know.
Projects cost money, right? So it's reasonable to conclude from my perspective that we will see this go up every year. As more projects come on, perhaps multiple projects at one time. Will there be a maximum not to exceed increase every year?
That's the purpose of this group.
$15 a person is pretty reasonable. Some of the projects cost thousands or tens of thousands. Well, I'm in no financial position with a family of 5 to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Second part of that question, is there a maximum threshold not to exceed for total expenditures?
We're limited by what we can levy and what we can raise. So
And
in other
fully
words,
support clean water?
so there's a limit to what we can levy, okay? And we're not limited by the money that we get through grants or through donations. So the other thing is, remember, these projects can't get started unless this group approves it. So if I would be tickled pink if we had 3 projects going.
And we both.
But realistically, it's going to probably be 1 year. And this group approves it, that's why in the agenda, it's the projects are approved first, then the budget, and then the tax levy to support that.
So let's fast forward and play the movie. Let's just use the figure $10,000. Tom, you and I talked about taking the carp out of other things, some dredgings, right? When expenditures decrease, will the tax levy for each owner of property in the district decrease as well?
I hope so.
Hope is not a strategy. So if it goes from 10,000 to 5,000, does my taxes go down?
If that's what's approved, yes.
Just have to get clarity on this idea that you're reaching into my pocket for good reason. But when the amounts go down, my concern is you keep taking the same amount from my pocket. Because then we put it in the savings or in a bond or something, that's great, but I'm willing to give money, and quite a sum too. But when it goes down, I expect that my taxes go down as well. I appreciate the time. Would you like to chat?
You can leave it there. Thank you.
Mary Bauer, North 7475 Florence Drive. So, in my opinion, our taxes already are too high. There's a big bite, but that money goes to certain purposes. But if I look at the value proposition of an increase in our taxes, what is that going to do for us? What do we have the power to do as an association? Above and beyond what the government has the power to do. And I would submit to you that any actions that we take in the lake and the ecosystem there are going to have to be approved probably by the DNR and other agencies. Because we can't unilaterally make decisions. And so being really sensitive to tax increases of any kind, I would advocate that we should be looking at how do we use other people's money, because in my opinion, it is the state of Wisconsin's duty to provide clean water and deal with the problems that we already are seeing with pollutants, phosphorus, and other things that get into the ecosystem that cause algae and all kinds of other problems. I mean, I would say it's the state of Wisconsin's duty to do that. And maybe on a national scale there's something there. So in my opinion, we should be looking at how do we use other people's money and make sure that the government does their job, to keep our water clean like it should be. So I'm personally opposed to tax increases, but I do think we should be focused on using other people's money. Over.
Hi, my name is Chuck Tack. I live at E6171, 819th Avenue. I just want to see if I got this right. Maybe I missed it, but my property value on the town of Tainter home listed on the rolls is about $250,000. And if I remember right from a meeting a couple of weeks ago, I think my tax levy would be $25. That's correct, $25 on a $250,000 home. I think it's worth it.
Would anybody else like to address the assembly? And no, Kurt, I'm not giving you your own microphone. No, that one doesn't work. You gotta use the pad.
Yeah, the little mic on.
Just hold it a little. Yeah.
We're downsizing.
Yeah. Right side.
Okay, yeah, $25 for 250,000 this year. Okay, so the gentleman over here was concerned about, his maximum 2.5% assessed value. That's the maximum that they can tax. But what he didn't refer to is the other two forms of taxation. Special projects. So if you live in a bay and they want to clean up the weeds in your bay, it's a special assessment. So the only people that get taxed are the people that live in that bay because they're the only ones that benefit. So whatever it costs to clean up that bay, whoever lives in that bay, they'll get assessed the charges for that bay. The other form is, we already talked about loans. So the district can take out loans based on the approval of the members of the district. And then we will get taxed on the interest that is charged on that loan. And here's the key to take away from that. There is no limit on the amount of money that they can borrow. So you've got maximum 2.5% tax on the assessed value of your home. You've got a special project that may or may not take place outside your back door, and any loans that they may or may not take out to do another project that they can't get a grant or any other donations or something to do a project to clean up the lake that they see necessary. So yes, we all have the opportunity to vote yes or no on whether or not we want these projects to take place. So the key takeaway to this is, as Al pointed out, we have the power to dictate what we want to happen on the lake to clean it up. So just so you know, the taxation is not the only form of cost associated to you, the residents or electors, well, basically the residents of the lake, costs associated with cleaning up this body of water. And that's the rest of the story.
Just a point of clarification. The special charges, lake special charges may not exceed the cap. Okay, so they're not on top of the cap. They may not, they're figured into the $2.50 per thousand. So those are underneath the cap. The other thing to remember is any of those special charges, besides being a big legal issue, you have to have attorneys and everything else because you wind up having property issues and things like that, is that they have to be approved by the annual meeting. So this board cannot just do special charges without having other people involved and having their approval.
I never heard of the 2.5%. Is that a real number?
It's $2.50 per thousand.
So that is estimated at $410,000. What would be my maximum amount? Can someone help me with that?
410 times 250.
1,045
That's pretty reasonable.
a year.
So my taxes could go up a maximum of over $1,000 for this program?
If you approve those projects.
Was unaware of that amount.
was full, then she was raging.
So my the budget E616894 848 Avenue. I have a basic question. Everybody that lives on the lake, a tiny cabin, we tax a lot more than the property across the road. We are already overtaxed, taxed. What we should ask is, while we're paying so much tax, what is our benefit? Why do we volunteer to pay more taxes when we already are paying more taxes and not demanding for what we have paid already? How does that make sense? A house behind me pays half for a tiny cabin I have on the lake. We should be asking, we're already paying taxes more than our fair share. And we should be asking the county to give us the service for what we're paying and not offer them more money. What did they do for us for the last 30-something years I have been there? Why are we willing to pay more? I'm asking, just tell me.
You don't pay more. Your property value is worth more. You're paying the same amount of tax as they are, but you're more valuable.
Marty. Can I come and speak to this? Does anybody want to address that from this council?
I'm just, are you saying that you're concerned about paying more money to the county with this? Is that what your concern is? Because the Lake District is a different.
Well, what I'm saying is the property on the lake is already overtaxed. And we're not demanding for what we've paid already. That's what we should be doing. And not impose more taxes on ourselves. And the lake is not only used by the people on the lake. There's access to everybody. They're using it too. They should be contributing too. We should not increase our taxes on our own while we should be demanding. For the last 30 years I've been paying. What did I get for that? I got a pile of algae piling up right now by my dock. Nothing is being done because we're not asking for it. Or else they have to cut down our taxes. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the budget of, what did I say, $15,731.28.
I would just, could you address my question about why is there a tax levy in the budget we're approving when we haven't approved the tax levy yet?
That's the way the law is written, that you have to approve the budget. You approve the projects that go into the budget, you approve the budget, and then you approve the tax levy that goes with that.
So we could be striking down the budget with the next item on the agenda.
Right. Third, you spoke once.
Yeah.
Twice.
Okay, the first levy was assigned by the county or something. We don't vote on the first levy, right? I think there was something in the bylaws or the statute that says the first tax levy will be assigned by the Board of Commissioners. You all, there's something in the statute that says the first. I read it somewhere, but the first levy wasn't voted on by the at the first annual meeting. It was already established.
There was no levy.
Where where'd the $25 come from then? For the first half?
We had no budget, no money.
Right.
And
Right.
so there is.
But I read something in the statute that says something about the first property tax thing was gonna be, decided by, that there was no vote for the tax.
No,
I'll look it up and I'll try and find it, but I know I read something.
New rule. You get one chance at the mic, okay? Otherwise, we could be here. We gotta be respectful of people's time. Okay, vote. All those in favor of this budget, signify by saying, or by raising your cards, please.
There you go.
All those against, raise your cards, please.
Okay, 126 yea, 20 nay.
Motion carries. Next item, the consider approval of corresponding tax levies to balance the budget of $15,000, $15,731.28. Motion, please.
I move we unanimously approve the levy.
Is that a second?
I'll second
There's a gentleman behind mine. Oh, I can't hear you.
Ted Ludwig.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Motion is, you have to suspend the rules and unanimous consent. Motion, and then you have to two-thirds, so you have to withdraw your motion and just move the
I withdraw my motion to unanimously approve the levy and just move to approve the levy.
Now, so is there a second?
Now, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll go with the first gentleman over there. Did you get?
Was it
Ludwig?
Ted Ludwig? Yes.
Okay, motion. There's been a motion and a second to approve the levy. The levy amount to approve the budget, or to balance the budget the total levy amount is $15,000. To calculate that levy to do the mill rate, I wrote a white paper on this, and we talked about it at several meetings. Also, how to calculate that levy impact. The levy is 9.6 cents or not less than 10 cents a thousand of property value. So a $100,000 home is $9.66. The average home, or the average property value on the lake, if you take all the properties and the average value is $250,000. Assessed value, that's not what you want to sell it for, but that's what you're being taxed for. So that would be, for the average, it's $24.50. And so remember, 9 cents of that $2.50 that we can, that maximum, we're only asking for 9 cents. And I do have to say that this board is fiscally conservative. It's not, there's nothing in there extravagant or whatever. Now, you get a chance to vote on who's in the board too. So that could be, that's your next step. So that's a little bit of a budget explanation. That's the whole deal. There's not much more than that. So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Barry Dollar, you have address from the previous. And it seems like, when you look at the amount of the increase, it's relatively insignificant. And so we can bite the bullet there. But I would say, what's the rest of the story yet to be read? What are the things that we have the power to do? And so maybe that's an investment in advocacy and projects that can be funded by other sources like the government, for example. And so, to me, there could be a value proposition there. So I wouldn't stand in the way of that, but I'm really more concerned about the rest of the story because over the years I've seen tax increases nibble away, a nickel here, a dime there, and it all adds up at the same time. Is this our problem to solve? There's so many stakeholders. We're on the recipient end of the problems that are being created, maybe upstream. But what are we empowered to do? And so I would say if we're going to vote, for the same levy here, then let's focus on how do we make the government do their job, do their part. How do we enlist the resources of others, that can help get the job done? Because I don't think we can do it by ourselves. And so, with that said, I would say yes, let's find ways of using other people's money, the government, for example, and maybe that's money well invested. But I am very opposed to a tax increase. But I accept whatever decision we make here today. Or
Thank you.
Leo Schindler, E5342, 732nd Avenue. I'd like to speak to what one of the earlier gentlemen spoke about and his concern with taxes and the example he gave where, they have lake property, yes, they have lake property and their taxes compared to the house behind their house, not lake property, and why should they be paying more and should the funds come from the county rather than the lake district? And that's something I think that it's important to me to at least understand. And to me, am I correct to say that the reason that the money is not coming from the county is simply that the county has other priorities? I mean, the county collects taxes. And so the county board, when the county board meets, they have to discuss the needs of the county. So the taxes that we currently are paying to the county are going towards paying for our schools, the highways, and a number of other things. But even though the lake does benefit not only us living on the lake, but it can benefit anybody lake. The county has decided not to fund anything to help improve the quality of the water in the lake. Am I correct with that?
I would say it's not that they don't fund it, but you're partially right in that they have a multitude of priorities and they have to decide. I know this as someone who sits on the county board, that we're going through a budgeting process now and working on the 2024 budget. And all of that, the property tax or the taxes that you pay to the county have to get spread a certain way. It's not that they don't care about the lake and that they aren't doing anything about it, because there are certain things that the county does do, like the Land Conservation Department has certain things that they do as far as the lake, as far as maintaining some of the park access and landing access on the lake as well. But it's the reason a lake district is often formed is because the municipality can't do everything and can't be focused on, can't necessarily, they could probably apply for grants, but they have to have somebody who has the time to do that work and do that sort of, that initial prep work. So that's one of the reasons why a lake district is created, is to be really focused on those types of projects and go above and beyond what either a county or a municipality can do for that particular body of water.
I agree that I understand that there's limits as to what the county can do, but if the county board in the future was made up of different people or whatever, and they decided to do more, they could, correct? I mean, they could, which would result in our taxes probably going, our county taxes going up, they don't pay for that.
Not necessarily, because there's also levy limits on the county side of things, which is why, having been on the county board for the last, I think since 2016, there are things that have to get cut because the county is only allowed to raise a certain minute or a certain amount to address all of the different things that the county does, and there are certain priorities that have to be made. I mean, it's a question of numbers. So
that probably has to go to the state to raise the limits or whatever in the future.
So that's some of the stuff that you can talk to your state legislators about, because they're the ones who have decided to basically handicap the local governments by tying it to a smaller levy limit. So
thank you.
Hi, my name is Heidi Gooding. My husband and I are brand new Tainter Lake property owners, about 6 weeks in. So forgive my ignorance about this. I'm assuming that this is not optional. Anybody that's got an address on Tainter Lake, this affects. Got to be a correct statement. So this is only going to affect a handful of people, but on the upper Tainter Lake, very upper part, where it's weed choked and sand, and we can't get out onto the lake, we're never going to reap the benefits of this. So, what do you have to say about that?
There's not a whole lot to say. One of the planning things would be different areas of the lake have different concerns. And when we get to that planning component, the most I can tell you is show up at those meetings, make your voice heard, so that we can start to take and either advocate spending other people's money. I like that idea. But right now, we don't have solutions for that because we're still trying to identify what all those problems are. But there's a natural occurrence of the red cedar filling in the top end of the lake.
And we were aware of it when we purchased it. Most of the people in those areas have been there 20, 30 years, that they have a lake at one time. So I'm really a proponent of fundraising. I would love to champion that when that time comes, but, I just don't speak for our whole league.
Make sure Tom has your name. How to get a hold of you. We'll tap into it. Thank you.
Can you start tomorrow?
Could I share a little bit about my experience with the petition process? It seems a lot of the comments seem to me that there's a kind of general misunderstanding about what a lake district is. A lake district is not the board of commissioners deciding what to do with a lake. A lake district is us, you, deciding what's going to happen with the lake. Whether there's going to be taxes, whether the budget's approved, all of that is not this decision, it's this decision. And the last question about the upper end of the lake, I know we talked about it in our petition process, that was it Altoona Lake that did the big excavating project and cleared up some of the lake. So that's some of the stuff that the Lake District can accomplish if it's approved by the people that live on the lake. There was a question about what about the property owners behind and other people that use the lake. And when we did the petition process, we actually drew the boundary line for what the Lake District actually is. And we felt the people that had the most to gain or lose were those whose backyards are the lake. And so we limited it to those people because we felt theirs were the voices that should really be heard and not be diluted by somebody that lives a mile away. People that live a mile away or that fish and come over from the cities, they can contribute through fundraisers as well. So we're not limiting funding only to those on the lake. So, I don't know, maybe I confused the issue more, but.
Any other discussion? We will now vote. All those in favor of a tax levy of $15,731.28 signify by you got it. Chairman will go. Those against?
Okay, 120 yay, 20 nay.
Motion carries. Last last item on the agenda, we made it, okay? When you registered, you were given a ballot, okay? And we will be using this ballot as the statutes indicate. This is the part of the meeting that is done by secret ballot. I have people that were volunteered to be tellers. So, and those of you that don't have pens or pencils and things like that, there's a box scale on the back. My wife has pencils and pens. Again, it was a donated thing. Some of those pencils came from my shop, so I don't care if you steal the pens, okay, but I want the pencils back.
Point of information. Back in the, discussing the approval of legislative commissioners on 3 to 5 positions, I think I understood you to say something about currently the county covers the liabilities and all that sort of stuff.
Liabilities.
Well, for insurance purposes and all that stuff. So my question really is why do we want the commission? Why do we want the county carry?
Because we're not coming in.
But if everybody needs to get help,
I'm going to have to call you out of order. We're not into that yet for discussion.
which is budget voting.
I'm just starting to what we have to vote for.
Okay.
Just sit down and then we'll give you a chance to ask this question. First of all, nominations from the floor, okay? There have been 5 of us that have, according to our bylaws, and we put it out on the website, we have taken and submitted our nomination, or to be nominated, we had to have, I think we determined we had to have 5 residents of the Lake District sign off to be, and we answered 3 questions, or 2 questions. Those questions were designed to give you, the assembly, an idea of who we were, because you may not know, and some of us are relatively new to the area. So those have been up for, I think about a month. I think it was a little bit, I think it was right after the 4th of July that we posted those.
The 6th.
The 6th. So they've been up since the 6th. There's 2 things. Number 1, I'm going to open this up to, if anybody wants to nominate themselves or somebody else from the floor, we will add you to the ballot. Okay? Because this is the first time we've had this. We're trying to be inclusive, not exclusive. And if there's anybody new, I would give them a chance to address the assembly. And if you want to hear from us, I'll leave that up to you. Otherwise, we can just vote for who's ever there is. It's totally up to you. You've heard me enough today. I don't know that you need to hear me anymore. But so it's up to you. First of all, let's ask if there's anybody that wants to be nominated from the floor to have this exciting job. It's actually quite rewarding, to be honest. All right. I'm not seeing anybody nominate themselves or the person that they don't like. Would you like to have us, as people running for the commission, spend 1 minute to say something? No.
At least stand up.
Could the people that are running please stand up? There's Grant, who's running. Did you, no? You good? Did you have something that you wanted to say before we vote? Or would you want to talk to me afterwards? Is this on the vote?
Back, we were talking about that going to, vote for the 5 commissioners. I made perhaps I misunderstood what you were saying, but it sounded to me like you were suggesting that we were better off with no commissioners because they're under the auspices of the county.
No.
Okay, I misunderstood that, thank you.
The county appointed the initial commissioners to serve in an interim position until this meeting, when you guys get to vote on the new commissioners that serve on this board. There remains a single county-appointed commissioner, which is myself, and one town-appointed commissioner, which is Tom.
So the ideal thing to do is if we just adjourn the meeting without voting, that makes us still in the room session. We can get counties help for free. We're all government for free. And I would say we're all paid for it.
Actually, because we already voted the bylaws, and we have to elect commissioners. So.
Yeah, there has to be a secret ballot, there has to be an election. So, would the tellers please vote, please? Well, I think in keeping with trying to be as efficient as we possibly can, one of the other things on the agenda is next year's date. Okay? That's what we're going to be, we want your input on the next year's date. We chose this date simply because it's before the end of the date and it was the soonest we could logically get there. So, what? Yeah, some people take and have theirs right around the 4th of July when everybody's around. But the problem with that is, I don't know about you guys, but you got family and everything else and you're busy. And so, does anybody have any suggestions or input?
I suggest that we keep it the first Saturday of August at least through next year.
Put that in the form of a motion?
I move that we keep it the first Saturday of August at least through next year for some consistency.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. Well, I'm kind of doing two things already. Okay, we need to be quiet.
I'm not opposed to the day, but could we please make it a little earlier in the day, that we still can do something earlier in the day? Because being in the middle, you don't get to eat lunch, you don't get to do anything before or after.
I amend my motion so that we begin at 10 in the morning on the first Saturday of August in 2004 for consistency alone.
Wait a minute. Parliamentarian?
Well, as long as the second, well, the same person seconding it will second that motion.
And the same person did.
Okay.
So if I understand this correct, the amended motion is to be the first Saturday for next year, and next year only, the first Saturday in August at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay? And next year, if I get reelected and who's ever the president, we can set an hour and a half, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I need the names of those people that made the motions.
Jan McMasters, and I seconded it.
Jan seconded.
Mary Preston.
Thank you, Mary. And Jan.
And
Mary Scott.
just so that you know, the other thing is, and you can read the screen, the candidates, the 2 candidates with the highest votes get the 3-year terms. The candidates with the next 2 highest votes gets the 2-year terms, and the person getting the least votes gets the 1-year term. If there's a tie, we're going to flip a coin. Okay, just so that you know. Or maybe we'll do rock, paper, scissors. But just so that you know, that's to create, because this is the first time this board started, that's to create staggered terms so that it's not like this every year where everybody's up for re-election. Typically, there would be, every 2 years, there would be 2 people up for re-election, and then every 3rd year, there would be 1 person. And so next year, there'll be 3. You get what I'm saying?
Do we vote on that motion, or that just is?
That's what the board determined, and that's,
No, I'm talking about the motion.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing 2 things at the same time. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising their hands. Do we have to count this one? No. Okay, we won't count. All those opposed? Here we got a unanimous. And as soon as the tellers are done, we will adjourn the meeting, but I can't adjourn the meeting until, and I know we lost some people.
Aren't you open for some comments?
Well, why don't you wait until, come to a meeting, just so that everybody wants to know, first of all, while people are leaving, I want to thank everybody for coming. And your discussion is well taken, and I applaud you for spending a nice Saturday here. The other thing is we have public comment every meeting that we have where you can come and talk about anything. I mean, according related to the district, please come and talk to us. The other thing is please come and you can email us. You can email us, you can call us, and you can show up at a meeting. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us. We're all available for your comments. I know that we have not, other than maybe one guy that's soliciting some work, we have answered every email that we have gotten. And when you send in an email question, it goes to all of us. So you may get more than one answer via the website. The website is the place to get the most information and the most current information. We post everything on there. Jim has, this meeting was taped, and so that will be posting on there. The meetings are taped on there. And so everything is, we're trying to reach out to as many people as we can. So I encourage you to come to the monthly meetings. They are posted on the website, they are posted on Facebook, and they are posted at the Colfax Messenger and the Dunn County News.
And the Jake's, Elk Point, and the Bull Landing prostitutes.
And so we're trying to be inclusive, not exclusive. If you want to speak to how you people would donate.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
What people have done in the 4 or 5 months we have been together, when they wanted to donate, is they've come to a meeting, which is great because it serves 2 purposes. One, they've donated money, and 2, we've gotten involvement from these generous folks. And if you can't come to a meeting, feel free to email me via our website, and I will make arrangements to come to you and gladly pick up a check.
Well, eventually, the goal is to add just a donate button on the website, so you can just do that.
And we will have a P.O. box soon.
And if you want to remain anonymous, we actually got a very real nice donation from someone who's actually not even a Lake resident,
but uses the lake frequently and gave a very generous anonymous donation to the district. And if the newly elected commissioners can stick around for a minute after the meeting, my daughter will take a picture of all the commissioners for the list.
I just have something informal. I'd like to thank you guys for all the really hard work you did to get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
While we're waiting here, I'm not that familiar with the website, but I'm just wondering if you could outline the duties and the expectations of the role of the commissioner.
The best place to get that, I'll tell you that right now. The best place to get that, it's a PDF, it's on a PDF. It's called People of the Lakes. Okay, if you type in People of the Lakes, it'll come up. If you just do a Google search, it'll come up. It's through the UW extension. The DNR operates through the UW extension. They wrote this whole manual on lake districts, lake associations, and in there it defines what each person, what each role of the commission is, their rights and duties and responsibilities.
Hey, if you guys want to hang around for just a minute, we're going to have tallies for the commissioner vote. I know it's riveting.
But then on the other hand, if you want to take advantage of the nice weather. Thanks, Al.
I'd like to thank all the volunteers that helped today as well.
Yes. My wife was kind of voluntold that she would be working on this. His wife, yes. Well, it's governmental body.
You can only roll your eyes so much.
I don't know if you guys want to do anything with your tax. I think all you could do is but I don't know the reason. Picture or
Maybe what I'm talking about. It can just be a. I'm thinking lined up this way with that background, because that's, then you get that light. So that's what I thought had happened. Great. Yeah, so everybody lined up this way and you would be standing with my video camera. You followed you didn't throw your name.
If you knew what it was,
Yeah, I did. So, yes. So yeah, I wasn't trying to cause trouble. That's what I thought had happened.
So, the only thing I could think of on that was that a lot of places, you
it is really, really difficult. It involves a whole bunch of lawyers, a bunch of calculations. The ability is there. Almost no lake district in the state does it because it's too expensive just in the legal fees.
We could never figure that out.
Established prior to the beginning of the tax year.
If somebody had some money or gave them some ours is
Prior to the annual fee. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We could never figure that out.
That was
No, so the bottom line is, there are things we can learn from top page, because what's important here is
Now we can say it's
we just have to make it work. We just have to keep it good against silence Tom, reading of the statute, it's like there's almost no, the way it's written, you almost can't. I know you do it, you're very
Assuming you win.
yeah, sure. It's written in a way that is.
okay, sounds good.
You're kind of opening yourself up to like a potential.
I got enough irons in the fire, I got combat related stuff, and I don't need,
somebody yesterday, last week asked me.
We can always just, you can delete it. I just want to be ready so I can portrait.
yeah, right, yeah.
Jeez. Thank you, everyone.
What? Yeah.
You can start working on that retaining wall.
Are you gonna get individual ones of everybody? Oh, I did that. Okay.
Okay.
You know, the only thing I have to worry
Hey, man.
Good.
We're getting there.
Like a school photo.
Or against, I just throw any information out there, and
Well, the other thing is.
I wanted to say that.
I'm never gonna get white shoes, gray shoes again. Get a picture of Tom then? He's doing individual pictures.
Oh, wonderful.
Just,
Thank you.
and then Grant, Chuck, Pete. My daughter's taking individual pictures of everybody, so let's do you first.
So where do I gotta stand?
Just stay right. She'll direct you.
Well, I don't know. It's just been kind of a little bit random. But if you want to come a little bit
You tell me where to go.
Can I have your picture taken with the copy?
Pete, you're next. Might as well have individual pictures. Then I guess we could put people's pictures with on the board. And then Chuck. I'm assuming that all of these folks got elected since there wasn't. There could have been a write-in.
Yeah, you do.
Maybe I'll get everybody together so you can get out of here. Because you're,
Yeah, I was waiting. I thought you were going to take a picture like
with what?
I don't know.
All by the table? I mean, if you got some with us there, that's.
Well, I got one from backwards. To round everybody up.
For the group picture?
Yeah, just before people want to leave too.
I don't think. The meeting's not officially adjourned yet, so. So, what would be a decent background?
I mean, I guess you could scribble that.
I never got
Saying, I will as soon as the meeting's adjourned.
It is just that it was them, they would show up qualified, automatic qualified.
Yeah, so I tell them this. You're gonna be the walking boss. You gotta wear that hat. Yep. He's gonna be the walking boss. Oh yeah, I said that. I'm not the walking boss. I'm the straw boss. I'm the guy that's in the trenches kicking people in the keister. Yep. Have a good one. Oh, we have a lot of issues.
So, Chuck gets two, and Pete gets two. Right? Did I do that right?
So you still.
Oh, that's what So check one. 5, 10, 15.
Yes.
Or no, 5, 10. 14.
Well, you know.
So 17, yeah. Very good.
I don't think you can.
Point of order, we have to announce those results at the meeting yet?
Correct. I'm gonna make the announcements of who won,
Give me a call. Okay.
being that there were 5 people on the ballot for 5 positions. Here is the total vote, in order that they appear on the ballot. Pete got 113, Grant got 126, I got 135, Jerry got 128, and Chuck got 117. So here's how the terms play out. Jerry and I have the 3-year terms, Grant and Chuck have the 2-year terms, and Pete, you have a 1-year term. So next year you'll be up for re-election in 2-year, or however that works.
How many did Jerry get?
Here, I'll give you the, and there were write-in votes. Do you really want me to read all of these?
Yeah.
Okay, write-in votes, Jason T., Charles Stratton, Jim Lewis, Lori Lewis, Dick Lamers, Kay Stanton, Bill Rieger? No. Rieger? Okay. Chad Stewart, Kirk Zerline, Leo Schindler, and Brad O'Connell. Okay? And so that's our totals. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, the second back there,
Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson seconds that motion. We are adjourned.
Hey.